Welcome to OOD Works, the podcast, the show about unique individuals and services provided by Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities, the state agency that helps individuals with disabilities find a job and be more independent. Here's your host, Kim Jump.
On this episode of OOD Works podcast, we'll get to hear from Charity Bauer, someone who shines brightly, breaking through barriers with unwavering determination. We will get into the journey Charity has been on, a determined, tax-savvy individual who attended the Oklahoma School for the Blind. Despite her expertise in technology, finding a job proved to be a challenge for Charity. And that's where Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities, OOD, comes in. With perseverance and resilience, Charity overcame countless hurdles, and her journey took an unexpected turn when she landed a remote job with none other than Walmart. Charity is joined by OOD staff Patty Koehnlein, Vocational Rehabilitation Counselor, and Jennifer Renaldy, Job Developer. So Charity, Patty, Jennifer, welcome to the podcast.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
It's a whole group of us. And and I'm so excited, Charity, to hear more from you. I've heard great things about you from Patty and Jen. So I'm curious, you came from one O state, Oklahoma, to another O state, Ohio. How did that happen?
So I have one of the most unusual backgrounds, I think, of any client Patty or Jen has had. I was born and raised in Oklahoma. I attended the Oklahoma School for the Blind from the time I could barely just toddle myself around the halls until graduation. And then I took a career doing Renaissance festivals, traveling across the United States. That afforded me so many opportunities to hone my orientation and mobility skills, my people skills. I've met so many unique individuals, and doing the Ohio Renaissance Festival in Waynesville, Ohio, which is in Southern Ohio. I met my husband, Jesse, and I then moved in 2019 into his apartment, and then we got married in 2022. And I've just kind of been here ever since.
Congratulations on your recent marriage. That's fabulous.
Thank you so much.
Wow. And who'd have thought Renaissance festivals? I had no idea. That's really unique.
I got my start doing Renaissance festivals in community theater. I was in a production at the Muskogee Little Theater of Young Frankenstein, based off the Mel Brooks film. And the special effects makeup artist was one of the managers of a company that does Renaissance festivals, and she needed some help one weekend. And I was free, and I just kind of haven't stopped since.
So what kind of positions have you held within the festivals?
So I have had a lot of different roles. I started in archery. I know it's kind of strange for a visually impaired person to be in the archery range, but so then I went to the dunk tank where I would kind of ag patrons on to, make them more angry and throw, so to get to dunk me in the dunk tank. And then I worked the axe throwing counter. And then I left the games industry, and Jen's like, oh my goodness. And then I left the games industry to take what I do at Renaissance festivals now is I work as a sales associate for Arogish Highlander Kilts. I'm a seamstress there, a sales associate. And so I've been there ever since about 2016.
Oh, okay, great. Wow. Such diverse experiences within the festivals too. So for you, is that something, it sounds like you've continued. So is that like a kind of a side hustle that you do? Seasonally?
For a long time, it was my main source of income.
Mm-hmm.
And I plan on continuing to do it because it's something that I found a great passion for. And I've met so many of my friends and loved ones, my what I call my chosen family there. So I would say it's a side hustle now. Yes.
Yeah. But something you continue just out of the love for it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I've heard you have a reputation of being pretty tech savvy. Can you tell us about that?
Well, thanks to my education at the Oklahoma School for the Blind with tailored programs for assistive technology for blind and visually impaired individuals, I've really just learned so much about different accessible softwares and just computer knowledge in general. And I kind of blame most of it on being a millennial and raised on an iPad, uh, to just to realize that technology is my access to the rest of the world. Everyone can communicate with visual cues. I have to rely on technology. Like I use my phone. I reach the world through technology. And so in doing that, I've picked up quite a bit of tech skills.
Great. Despite having those tech skills, though, when you came to Ohio and you were looking for full-time work,
Mhm.
what kind of barriers were you experiencing?
The job market after the COVID-19 pandemic was so saturated with so many people wanting to work remotely. And I completely understand that factor that played into it. But I have to worry about issues of transportation and things like that. So finding a remote job was essential for my success. And I ran into, because of the job market being so saturated and me not having any remote work experience, you have to have experience to get a job to give you experience. So it's kind of an unfortunate loop that you fall in
Mhm.
until you find that one break.
Wow. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So how did you get connected with OOD?
So I was my grandfather, he passed away in 2020. He was a vocational rehabilitation counselor in the state of Oklahoma. And he kind of held the same job that Patty and my counselor, Christy Ash, hold.
Hmm.
He actually he did exactly what Patty's doing and works with younger children and teenagers in their transition.
Hmm.
So he worked with only visually impaired and blind students, though, which he was also visually impaired. And so he had a lot of experience, helping because of that, because of his own disability. So I
Sure.
already knew how that process worked in Oklahoma, and I know that every state has a a service like that.
Mhm.
So I took to Google and found it and sent in an application, and I got a phone call a couple days later.
Oh, great. Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm sorry for your loss with
Oh,
your grandfather. It sounds like you grew up knowing a lot about services thanks to him.
yes, absolutely. And because of his position, I got to meet so many amazing blind and visually impaired individuals. One, she is the head of the department. Her name is Fatosh Floyd. She is still in charge of the entire Voc Rehab Center in Oklahoma. She's from Turkey and is just the most incredible woman I've ever met. She takes every challenge in stride. So
Mm.
having those connections, I think, really encouraged me to reach out in a different state because I already had a very solid working knowledge of how it was in Oklahoma. I was
Yeah.
kind of scared about how it works in Ohio, but thankfully it's been amazing.
Oh, good. 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 And I'll bet those were powerful role models for you growing up as well.
Absolutely, yes. So having grown up in the world the of the blindness community, so many role models that have strong, successful careers despite their disability is really something that built a lot of character in me. I think I was never coddled or given the opportunity to blame my disability for anything because I had a whole plethora of of individuals who would not let that happen. So having those strong role models, I think, really helped influence my decision.
Great. That's wonderful. So when you first met Christy Ash and came to OOD, what were you hoping to accomplish, and what was most important to you?
Sure. Uh, Finding a job was my number one priority because it's just I mean, everything's so expensive now. So finding a way to support my family was the top priority. And meeting Christy, I wasn't really sure where I wanted to go. So I really relied on her to kind of help guide me in the right direction because I wasn't sure where to go. And so Christy gave me options. I know OOD has contracts with external vendors for job development or internally. And I chose to go internally, and that's how I came to meet Patty.
Okay, great. And Patty, you were the job developer working with Charity, and it should be noted that you were promoted to the role of counselor. And at that point, Jennifer stepped in as job developer. So I'd love to hear from both of you about what it's been like supporting Charity. Maybe Patty, if you would want to start.
Yeah, absolutely. When I first got the referral for Charity, I do believe the counselor said, it may take a minute to build trust and rapport, which is not uncommon, to be expected. But I must say, from the first meeting, Charity and I had a connection. We hit it off.
I think it was our mutual love of cats.
Yeah, I think the connection might have happened because I was working from home and one of my cats walked across the computer during our meeting. So that could have started the whole thing. But
she was a frequent visitor in our meeting.
Yeah. But we started the process just meeting weekly, going through the job seeking skills training, the basic stuff, building the resume, all those things. So that's how it started. And once we got through that and we were actually ready to start doing the job search, sending out those applications, technically we only had to meet once a week, but I think, and Charity can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we ended up logged on to meetings together 2-3 times a week because I would get an email or, whenever I had free time, I would search for jobs that fit her skill set and right away would email her or text her and say, hey, I have a lead, when do you have a second? And so we would log on and fill out the application together or research the company. I put her through endless rounds of interview practice. She was so sick of interviewing by the time she got this job.
Oh, would you say that's true, Charity? Would you use that word?
I definitely would. I feel though it was such good practice to have for interviews. But yeah, no, anytime. I think that's one of the ways how OOD really goes above and beyond for their clients is Patty didn't have to, on her free time, search for me. And she did, and was willing to help me research the company and filter through the kind of the not so desirable jobs that for me personally. And we'd fill out the applications together, and she would help me figure out the best way to word things on applications.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, there was, there was one point that, and of course, Charity would look for jobs on her own as well. She was extremely ambitious throughout the entire process. And so there were even times, looking for remote work sometimes can be a little dicey because there are, unfortunately, unscrupulous companies out there that are, posting false jobs to get your personal information and things like that. So I always encourage Charity to send it to me before you apply. Let me make sure it's legit. And we actually had one come across that was not. And I had the resource of a group chat with the other job developers. And I asked them hey, have you guys had any experience with this company? And they're like, don't do it. Don't apply, so it was certainly helpful. A team effort. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Very helpful. what did that lead to?
It took a while. As Charity said, the job market was very, very saturated. And I was very honest with her from the beginning that looking for a work from home job is going to take a little longer than an in-person job. So super honest with that from the beginning because the market is so saturated. So we just started pounding the digital pavement and looking for those jobs and sending out. We probably sent out at least 5 applications a week, at least, I would say. And eventually she did start to get some responses and some interview invitations and things like that. And so whenever she would have an interview, we would research the company. And then that way she would have some personalized information to kind of have in her arsenal for the interview process and things like that. And it was a bit of a roller coaster. It was discouraging at times. And so I did my best to encourage her and just to keep going and keep trying. We ran into some times where I wondered if it was maybe people being a bit, I don't know, I want to say intimidated by the disability. So there was definitely some advocacy that happened and things like that. So it was quite a journey.
Yeah. Would you consider it to have been a roller coaster, Charity? Like, did it feel that way?
Absolutely. We got our hopes up for a couple of jobs. And like Patty said, were intimidated or were not equipped to accommodate someone with a disability. And so there were definitely a couple of big interviews that went well that just didn't pan out, and that was really discouraging. And there were a couple times that I wanted to throw in the towel on the search for sure, because I mean, who likes getting rejected over and over and over again? But Patty just kept encouraging me, like, no, don't give up. The process works. Just hang with me a little longer. We've got this. So, and then Patty went and got herself promoted. But before then, she had to take a couple of weeks off from our meetings. And so I would still have some job development. She suggested that Jen could help me out for that time. And then I met Jen.
Nice. And Jen, what were your impressions of Charity?
My impressions of Charity, she's awesome. She's just so well-spoken, personable, friendly. I thoroughly appreciated Patty for taking a couple weeks off so I could get a chance to see how other job developers work. And she, Patty and Charity worked really well together, and Charity was really well prepared. They had practiced. They had done a lot of interviewing, practicing prior to interviews, following up after interviews to see if there was anything that they could improve upon. And I just, again, I want to just reiterate how just, truly lovely Charity is, but also her sense of determination and resilience, because there were times even back when, they had been a little bit further on in the journey when I covered those few weeks. And that was part of the roller coaster where there was some thought that some of those jobs were going to make some offers because there were, second and third interviews sometimes. And she didn't give up, but it got tough. And I think because of her perseverance and her resiliency, she pushed through. And that's where the story really gets amazing, because I think, and I don't want to jump ahead, but the position, I think sometimes, I don't want to sound cliche, but I think sometimes things happen for a reason. And, maybe this position that she's going to talk about shortly, is why the other positions maybe, didn't work out, because this is just so perfect for her. So.
I had the amazing opportunity to be a part of a couple of hiring events through OOD. And Patty and Jen both, they were like, all right, we got to prepare for this. We've got this. Let's go. So those offer actual interviews with companies, and but before then, everyone is screened, to make sure that they're ready. And I was in a meeting with Davis, and you're probably going to want to edit this out, but his hair was amazing. I got a text from Patty, and she was like, all right, without any context, just say something about the hair. And I'm like, all right, bet, got you. I'm all for this. So I got on, and I told him that he belongs on the poster of a Queen album, and he just thought that was hilarious. And so I really enjoyed getting to talk with Davis and interviewing with him. I feel so bad. All these the senior job developers were probably sick of seeing my name, especially Brian. Patty would email him like, "Hey,
I know that was Ron.
Ron,
Yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah. So Ron was super sick of hearing my name, and because Patty would email so much on my behalf. Anyway, so after the one hiring event position fell through, they weren't the right fit at the time. We kept on the job search, and everyone was kind of keeping me in the back of their mind. And the Walmart opportunities came across Davis's desk, and Patty and I applied for those. One was an in-person, because I was getting to the point where I'm like, okay, I would have to think about an in-person job, and then the challenges of transportation. And then the other one was remote. So we applied for that. Didn't really hear anything back, but I was actually on a trip back home to Oklahoma to visit my family. I got a phone call. I was like, okay, hi. And they were like, hi, this is such and such from Walmart recruiting. Is this a good time to talk? And I'm like, yeah. And so they were like, okay, well, you start June 19th. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
And so then yeah, I was home for about 2 weeks, and then I got my equipment to my house, and it's actually got my OOD desk set up back there. And I started.
Well, that's fabulous. So after all those ups and downs, and getting to the point of a number of people at OOD all in your corner, it happened. Gosh, you must have been elated.
I was kind of in denial for a couple of days, because I was just like, well, what is happening? Like after all of this time, what's going to happen with this one? Where is the other shoe? When is it going to drop? And I was very nervous, as both these ladies can attest. They would get texts like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Like, and so both of them were constantly reassuring me. Even after Patty was promoted, she was still in my corner, and so we would still communicate. And Jen was she was totally ready to deal with my anxiety. So I my equipment got set up. My husband helped me set it up, and I ran into a couple of issues with it, but thankfully both Walmart and OOD were ready and able to help me out immediately. And I started, and I quickly learned that I love this company. I love it. I love my job.
Good. Oh, that's great. And I want to go back just for a second, because you mentioned an OOD desk. What do you mean by that?
So I work with two 34-inch monitors, and they're rather large. And I didn't have an adequate workspace to accommodate that. So I got on the phone with Christy, and I was like, I don't even know if this is a possibility, but can we talk about getting me a larger desk? And she was like, I haven't really had that request before, but let me see what I can do. And she got back with me a couple days later, asking kind of like what I meant. So I went onto Amazon and found a similar desk that would work for me and what I needed. And she was like, all right, we can make that happen. And let's do it. and
Super.
she was able to get with a vendor and get it sent over. And now it's a U-shaped desk, so I can easily swivel my chair back and forth to be able to get to both monitors.
Wonderful. So tell us about the position that you love that you were hired into with Walmart.
Absolutely. I started as a resolution coordinator too in the chargebacks department. We handle a lot of the fraud operations for Walmart. So when a customer files a chargeback with their financial institution, I put together Walmart's investigation on the company's behalf. Example like proof of delivery, item details, whether or not the customer contacted Walmart. And I submit that application, that investigation, to the financial institution. Whether or not Walmart gets there, keeps the customer's funds, or the customer is refunded. And then I got promoted to a senior resolution coordinator because of my metrics and everything that I've been exceeding with.
That's great. And I heard it was just like around 90 days later that you were promoted.
Yes. I quickly learned that the company itself values every single employee, and they really just strive to make everyone as successful as they can. And I was very surprised. I called Jen, and then I called Patty, and they both were just elated, and there were some tears. We all cried. We did it.
Yep.
I have to interject. I knew you were
Please.
going to get promoted within the first week. I'm just saying. I called it. Okay. I just have to put it out there. I knew it. So you're welcome, Charity. No.
Thanks, Jen.
No, I definitely cried when Charity called to tell me she was promoted. Yeah.
Wow.
And she'll be promoted again. I'm calling it again. Just saying.
It's officially on the record now.
It is.
Yeah.
I'll get right on that.
Tell us about the kind of work that you're doing now in your promoted role.
I'm doing close to the same thing. I just am now trained in more processors than I was before. So I'm in some specialty queues like the AMX and Discover queues that are a little more complicated to work.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I sent my responsibilities haven't necessarily changed. I just am more, it's upskilled more with this new role.
Super. Could you tell us about like your favorite tools and technology that help you to support you to do your job, but besides the desk, of course?
Yes, so the desk is amazing, but OOD supplied me with an iPad that I use every single day because I'm able to manipulate it to where I can see it perfectly. I can take notes. I can use it for any task in my job. And they also provided me with the software called Fusion, which is a screen reader and magnifier in one. And I use that every day to be able to perform my job functions. Those tools mean the absolute world to me. If I didn't have them, I wouldn't be able to do the job.
Mm-hmm. Great. I've also heard from the ladies that you're working on a presentation at the request of your supervisors to educate other employees about assistive technology.
Absolutely.
Can you tell us about that?
Of course. So I noticed a couple of my teammates were also visually impaired, and that they haven't had necessarily the same opportunities that I've had. And I reached out to my supervisor. I was like, hey, is there any way that I can be of assistance to these folks? And she was like, well, let me get back to you on that. So because of HIPAA laws, there's no way that I could directly help them. And I totally understand that. But I was able to, she was able to come up with a solution to that. I'm making a PowerPoint explaining all of the assistive technology built into the Windows software and systems. as well as just some other assistive technology options that are out there to be able to help those other employees and even our ACEs, which is like the next level of leadership in my department, to be able to assist other agents.
And so are your colleagues in Ohio? Are they all different parts of the United States?
All over the country. My team lead is in Arkansas. That's where the company's based out of. We've got folks in Texas and Georgia, a couple here in Ohio, and just all over. I think it's amazing having so many different locations in just one team. I think it's so cool.
Yeah, that's probably makes the work really interesting. And
Absolutely.
I love that you're paying it forward by sharing about assistive technology. How would you say that having this job has impacted your life, Charity?
It's been a complete turnaround in my life. I don't struggle with paying bills. I don't struggle with stress about what's going to happen next. I know that every 2 weeks I'm going to be okay. If it wasn't for OOD, I would probably have lost my home.
Wow.
Oh, Jen.
Yeah.
I know, I don't know if it's appropriate to say, I just love you. You were just,
I love
I'm so
you.
proud of you. And you and Patty really like inspired me as a job developer, your success and, just being resilient. And I appreciate my part in this was really very tiny. I just did the retention at the end.
Don't let her say that. She was the one that took the wheel and helped me get to where I am. Don't sell yourself short, Jen. You are a fantastic job developer, and you honestly like it's so you work with completely opposite cases than mine on a daily basis, and A, I think you are just incredible for the work you do, and B, like you were like, I have no idea how to work with a visually impaired person, but we're gonna make it happen. And you took it in stride, and you weren't my job developer, but you are now. I have 2 amazing job developers, but somebody had to go get a promotion. Not gonna name it.
Gosh, looking at these ladies and, knowing that others have felt like they've been in your corner. It's just everybody's smiling and just like sharing in your happiness.
Yeah, absolutely. I got texts from both of them on my starting day, just wishing me luck and that they knew that I was going to go so far, and they were both right.
Now, I was going to say, even our EIS department, like Ron Klenowski and Davis Rapp, they were along for this whole ride, and they celebrated when she got hired too. And when she got promoted, I emailed them both, and I was like, guess who got promoted? So yeah, she's had a lot of cheerleaders at OOD for sure. And it's been such a team effort across multiple departments, between her VRC getting the desk and the iPad and the Fusion, to EIS sending us these leads. That's where this job lead originated from. So it's definitely been a team effort, and everybody has been like, I get the visual of like her running the marathon and we're on the sidelines cheering, and handing her cups of water so she can keep going.
Having the tools and everything from OOD, as well as the army of people who were in my corner, really just solidified that I was on the right path and was where I was supposed to be when I started. And as Patty was saying, that the EIS was the one who found this lead for me and sent it. And when she sent it to me, I wasn't like, all right, that's just another one that's not gonna pan out. All right, here we go.
I want to jump in and just share with our listeners that may not know, EIS is our Division of Employer and Innovation Services, and OOD works with hundreds of employer partners to source qualified candidates like Charity. with in-demand jobs. So yeah, it only takes one. It only takes one to pan out, right?
Absolutely. And I plan on staying there for as long as they'll have me.
Charity, it sounds like you're a big proponent of vocational rehabilitation services, given your grandfather and your experience. But I'm kind of curious what you would tell others who are maybe on the fence about considering services from OOD.
Sure. I would say 100% do it. I know it's scary. I know it may feel uncomfortable at times asking for this kind of help. But the state of Ohio really does want to make sure that we are productive members of society, and the organization OOD wants to help in every single way they can, every single person. I mean, the two women here literally have gone so above and beyond, and they're just two of the hundreds of employees that OOD has that just are there for any kind of case. So my advice is just to do it. Take the leap and trust in the process, because the process does work. It took me a year, and I'm where I am now.
Yeah, and you didn't give up.
Nope, no. Wanted to, but didn't. No, just kidding.
Well, Patty and Jen, anything that you would want to say as we look to wrap up?
I'm just incredibly proud of where she's at, and really honored that I got to be a part of the process. I love what I do. It's a great agency, and our participants are awesome. And it's experiences like this that encourage you to go to work every day, So, yeah, good stuff.
And I second what Patty just said. It's an honor and a privilege to work for the citizens of the state of Ohio. And like Charity said, we're just two of hundreds of people at OOD. So any one of us would be happy to assist anyone who's interested in vocational rehabilitation services. We encourage you to make that first step and call or get on the web and look us up. And I also just want to congratulate Charity. I appreciate her time and her, commitment to helping others with disabilities. And I'm so proud of you and so honored to be part of this. And I want so many good things for you, and you're going to get them all.
Yeah, I love how all these good things are happening in your life, kind of close together, Charity,
Absolutely.
You're
It's been a whirlwind.
Yeah, it must feel great.
It does. I am so happy with my life, and a big part of that is because of OOD.
A transcript of today's episode is available at ood.ohio.gov/podcast. We welcome you to subscribe and leave a review. We're on social media at Ohio OOD. Do you have a disability? Do you want a job? We can help. oodworks.com.